Hi there, Andrew D. Pope. One of the most confusing things in your midlife career is when things start to feel wrong on the inside, even though externally everything looks stable. It's certainly confused me many times over the years. You've been in this gig for a few years now as a professional. Nothing's collapsing, you're functioning, you're competent, you're respected. From the outside, at least, everything looks fine and dandy, but on the inside, something is wrong. And that confusion and strangeness is why it's difficult to explain what's going on sometimes. Even to yourself, it's hard to get your head around it sometimes. When your stability and great career feels wrong, people sometimes start to assume that they're ungrateful or unrealistic or just plain restless. But in many cases, something more subtle, something more nuanced is happening. A key thing to remember here is that stability and alignment are not the same thing. Your midlife career can be secure, respectable, financially stable. You can apply a whole host of great adjectives to that career. But on the inside, something is off. Something does not feel right. The career no longer fits you. Now, usually none of this is a dramatic event or occurrence. It happens gradually. Over time, you change. Your perspective changes. Your priorities evolve. Your capability expands. So you may have changed significantly as a person, but your career has remained largely stable. Eventually, the gap between who you are and what you do becomes more and more noticeable. It becomes impossible to ignore at a certain point in time. I call this identity lag. All of this sets up a strange internal tension. Logically and intellectually, you feel that you should be satisfied. People around you may be telling you that you should be satisfied, but you're not. But internally, something feels increasingly flat and off. Not a dramatic thing necessarily, as I've mentioned, but a disconnect, a strangeness. Sometimes it can be very, very uncomfortable and painful. As a quick example, and this is quite common actually with the people I work with, suppose a certain someone has spent years building and developing a stable professional career. They've done well. They've become highly competent, trusted and respected. But eventually the work they do doesn't stretch them. It doesn't energize them. They don't feel the challenges that they felt before. And what once felt meaningful about the job just feels repetitive and doesn't seem to matter anymore. Another common example is somebody whose priorities shift over time. What mattered to them at 35 years old no longer matters to them at 50 years old. But their role hasn't changed. It still reflects an earlier version of them. For me, that's the very definition of identity lag. So a lot of people stay trapped in this space for many, many years, because externally, the role still works. And walking away from that feels irrational. Walking away from that stability can feel crazy. And why would somebody do that? So instead, they tolerate the increasing misalignment. They normalize that misalignment. In effect, they're trapping themselves. But here's an interesting thing to bear in mind. This situation doesn't mean you have to quit, start again, or reinvent yourself. That's a mistake many people make. You can end up in a far worse position by reacting too quickly because it feels dynamic and decisive. Ask me how I know, by the way. So in my experience, the root cause is not the stability in and of itself. It's the lack of value alignment underlying all of that. So I think we've comprehensively identified the issue here, and you may well identify with this if you are a midlife professional. So what's the way forward? Well, instead of asking, should I blow everything up and start over? A better question to ask yourself is, what specifically doesn't fit anymore, and what can I do to correct that? That question leads to much more effective and clear thinking. So as I've said many times, and I've learned the hard way from experience, reinvention is not always the best solution. In fact, it often is far from the best solution. Often the best way forward is strategic recalibration and deliberate, thoughtful realignment of your role with your core personal values. These are small but far more meaningful shifts. As always, here's something genuinely worth reflecting on. Is your career in genuine alignment, or is it simply stable? Those two things are definitely not the same. If the ideas in this video resonate with you, you'll find many more conversations like this on the channel, so consider subscribing for future updates. Drop a like as well, it all helps. In the next piece, we'll explore another side of this concept, the cost of staying too long, and why capable people often delay change way beyond the point where they should. Remember, deliberate evolution beats accidental drift. I'm Andrew D. Pope. See you next time.